There truly is no better time to be alive than right now. Welcome to the Upward and Onward podcast. Let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Upward and Onward podcast episode. The gentleman to the right of me is a father, a husband, a clinical director, a licensed psychotherapist and personal development specialist, and also a friend of mine. His name is Ray Lambert, and I'm excited to introduce him to you today and show you the great things that he's been working on and where he's going in the future. Ray, thanks for joining us today, man.
Hey, thank you for the intro. Happy to be here, man.
It's good to see you, and what's ironic is we're in a spot that you have a little history with.
Yes. So I was able to kind of like partner up and invest in my boy Anytime's studio, and he brought everything to light. So I can't take any of the credit. He really did his thing with this. And honestly, it's probably the best multi-dimensional studio in Rhode Island.
100%.
So anyone out there that's looking for a place to shoot content, make a podcast, make an album, we're definitely the studio for all types of creators. So
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a recording studio here, there's a podcast studio here. There's also just a ton of resources available for people who wouldn't have this access granted them if they went anywhere else in Rhode Island that I can think of. So, thank you. Thank you to thank you to the whole team for making this space just accessible, and I'm looking forward to coming back and enjoying this.
one last thing, and I know this is supposed to be an interview for me, but I do want to say one more thing about Any. Like, if you're not sure where to start and you're kind of like, oh, like I really don't know how to do anything, Any's good from taking you to like point 0 to point 100. So just because like you don't know where to start or you don't know what next steps to take, that's not a good enough reason to not start. If you come and you hit up Any or you hit up BO8, hey, I'm looking to do this, can you point me in the right direction? Like, he'll take care of the rest,
100%. I mean, look at this. We have water bottles that have the logo and the name of the podcast on it. So, pretty crazy. But one thing I want to do is for people who are out there, they're listening to this podcast, they know it's a licensed psychotherapist, they know that it's someone who seems like they're really motivated, they work out, they're a father, family person. What's one word that you would describe? What's one word that you would use to describe yourself?
I would say resilient. That's probably number one.
Why is that?
It was funny because I had a conversation with a buddy of mine today, and he was kind of just talking about how like I'm smart, and I was like, thanks for the compliment or whatever, but that's probably like 6 on the list of what I feel like I am, because you could be the smartest person in the world, but if you can't withstand struggle, if you can't withstand sacrifice, if you can't withstand pain, if you can't get knocked down 9 times to stand up 10, then the smartness does absolutely nothing for you. So I'm way more resilient than I am smart.
Interesting. Resilient. That's a great word. I would use that as well. But what I want to do is we're going to start in the present and then we're going to go back a little bit, talk about the past, and then we'll go to the future.
Sure.
Up there. So, right now, like I mentioned, licensed psychotherapist, personal development specialist. What's a normal day like for you?
Depends what day. So days have changed since I've had my twins. I'm working a little bit less. I cut back my hours. I used to work from say 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and that was like my daily thing, Monday through Saturday. But I cut back a little bit to spend some more time with my girls. So right now, I'll say Monday through Thursday, I'm working 10 to 6 as a clinical director for an organization called Whitmarsh Corp. And then on Fridays, half of the day is with clinical director at Whitmarsh Corp. The other half is at my practice doing virtual sessions. And then Saturday, the whole day is at my practice doing sessions.
Interesting. Now, between the clinical director role and also just being a psychotherapist, what are you helping people with? What are they coming to you with? The things that they want to talk about? What are you there for?
So they're both two different entities. So the clinical director position, I'm working with predominantly children and young adults. And a lot of that is just getting them ready for adulthood, getting them ready to accept more responsibility, getting them ready to become a man per se, and all what comes with that. For my practice, it's individuals who are adults and who are focused on a specific area of their life, which they feel like they need to grow in. Usually it becomes when it comes to personal development, or they're stuck in the same spot, they're feeling stagnant, they're feeling anxious. So it's really like a specific niche when it comes to the adults, whereas the younger children, it's more so getting them over the hump of poor habits that have led them to be in the current place that they're at, and then how to make their lives better in the future.
That's amazing. And one thing that I want to highlight in this episode is, of course, we hear the just two words, mental health. And it's something that in the past wasn't talked about too much. But I think one thing that I'm seeing more is that it's accessible. The services are more accessible to adults, but also, like you're saying, for kids. And that is where I think we need to spend a little bit more of our time, maybe too, because they're in their developmental years, and you're able to help them have an outlet, someone who that they can talk to, someone who that can guide them. So one of the things I'm curious about is, does it change your strategy when you're working with kids versus adults? I know that you mentioned that you're trying to help them develop, but I imagine maybe adults are talking to you a lot about anxiety and depression, more of the things that they know that they can pinpoint, but for children and kids, maybe they can't really express themselves as well. Is that true?
Somewhat. So the biggest difference would be when it comes to children, their recent childhood experiences shape them so much, right? So like the PTSD that they may have, or the anxiety they might have, it's usually coming from an event that happened 5 to 10 years ago, right? And it's more so like, hey, like let's nip this in the bud now, so that when you are my age or when you're in your 30s, like you kind of have like a clearer slate, right? Another thing is looking up to someone that can steer them in the right direction. Sometimes our role models, they might feel cool to us, but the advice that they give us and the guidance that they like show us isn't really aligned with what's best for us per se. And so I'm allowed to say, hey, like the stuff that you're doing over there, where do you feel like that's going to lead you? Like what path down the line is that going to lead you? Um, it was one individual recently, he's involved in a gang, and we were talking, and we were talking about civilians, right? And I was like, hey, like I think everyone ends up a civilian though.
Mm.
And he was like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, have you ever seen like a 40-year-old gang banging? And if you did, like, what would you think about him, right? And he's like, yeah, that's kind of corny. I was like, yeah, like, right.
Right.
And so like if you can't be that way at 40, why be that way now?
Totally.
Right. And it got his wheels turning. It's like, oh wow, like I never thought about it like that.
And that right there is sometimes all it takes is just for someone to hear it from someone else who that they can resonate with, who that they can confide in. So thank you for doing your part.
Yeah,
One of the things I'm curious about, though, you mentioned how adults that you meet with, they're sometimes stagnant. I wonder, can you share with us anything that maybe is a commonality between the people who are stagnant? Maybe some things that
sure.
they can do or change about
Sure.
themselves? Yeah.
Sure. So it happens at every level, right? So I have clients that, are barely making ends meet, and I have clients with multi-million dollars in the bank. At every single level of life, like as long the minute you get comfortable and you continue on the same path, technically you're stagnant. So stagnant doesn't necessarily mean like you're in the gutter of the gutter. It just means that you've been the same for a really long period of time. And some people aren't bothered by that, and that's completely fine. There's other people like myself who are bothered by that. And I don't think that's a bad kind of alarm system to have. It just means that something needs to change, right? Because old nothing changes and nothing changes. So sometimes they don't understand the actions that they're taking that is actually kind of like pulling them back. So they're trying to get forward doing X, Y, and Z, but this one action over here keeps on pulling them back, and they can't see it because they're just so in the routine of things. And so like my job is to point out, hey, like granted, you're doing all this, that's great. But did you realize that you keep on doing this? And when you keep on doing this, that's what's making you stay in the same spot. And it's like, oh wow, yeah. Oh,
Very interesting. It's kind of crazy to think about because the scale is so vast. We're talking about you helping kids and adults and people who are multimillionaires, and something that is not discriminatory is that it can be anybody, any scale.
yeah.
So for the people who are listening to this, I hope that you aren't feeling like you're alone. I hope that you find those people who you confide in. You have a support system. Leverage them. If you don't know of anyone who can help you, reach out to someone like Ray Lambert. He's offering virtual sessions. He's offering in-person sessions. You need to make sure that your mental health is at par. So I'm happy we talked a little bit about that. What I want to do is jump a little back and just ask you even what inspired you to get into psychotherapy? What inspired you to even lead up to where you are now?
Sure. So I would want to say high school. And so high school, there was three things that happened, right? The first thing was I just identified therapists in the shows and the movies I was watching as always like the best scenes. Like for some reason, like just for me, like the therapy scene was always the coolest and like funnest scene, right? They usually, whoever the main character was, I always reference the Sopranos, like, it was this big tough Italian guy and F you this, F you that. And then by like the third episode, like he's crying in there and he's letting his real emotion. I was like, wow, like she was able to see all that. She was able to do all that. Like to me, that's real power. Like you're able to actually like really like get through the armor that people put up and you're ready to see like the real them. So that was the first thing. The second thing was I had to do a senior project and my uncle was a psychiatrist. And so I went to Jersey and was able to actually sit in on some sessions. So I saw it firsthand, right? The third thing was psychology was the only class, and I was pretty good in school, but psychology was the only class that like you could learn something and then apply it right away. Right? It wasn't a history class or a science class where like the perfect thing had to line up for you to be like, oh yeah, I remember learning this. Like, no, psychology, you were able to learn something and then apply it right away. And that's what made me like, okay, I'm all in on the psychology stuff.
Interesting. That's really cool. That's awesome that you had that firsthand experience to even be able to know what you wanted to do. Because I think personally, the best thing that most people can do is try a bunch of different things, figure out what you don't want to do, and then you'll maybe find what you really are passionate about, what you're more
It
inclined.
can be just as valuable, and that's super important too. A lot of people identify not knowing what they want to do in life as a reason to not do anything, and like they shouldn't run hand in hand. And
Let
I like pointing that out.
let me ask you this though. If someone's in a rut, they're maybe just listening to this right now and they're thinking, I don't know what I want to do in life. What's your advice to them?
I would push back and say they know more than what they think, right? Because if I'm like, hey, like, you know, do you, I don't know, do you want to be a music teacher? No. Okay, why don't you want to be a music teacher? Because I don't like music. Okay, so that means that all the professions with music, let's cancel them out.
Yeah,
And so, like, you keep on doing that until you'll get like a broad range still, but it'll be a smaller, right? So it's like, okay, you know something.
yeah.
One thing I love doing, oh my god, I love doing, is I like having my client close their eyes and just be like, if it's a man per se, hey, this is an ideal world for you. You go downstairs, there's breakfast cooking, your wife's in the kitchen, the kids are fed, it's your turn to eat, you're about to go to work. How are you dressed? And so like some people will say like, okay, like I'm in, a suit. Okay, well, there's only a certain amount of jobs in a suit and there's certain. Oh, I'm in, workout gear. Okay, well, there's a certain amount of jobs that do that. So, like, what car are you driving? Like, what kind of area are you working in? Like, all of these little things can actually paint a picture that you didn't even know existed until you actually thinking about it.
That's a great exercise.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal exercise, and it's interesting because for myself, growing up, I always had the idea in my head that I wanted to go to work in a suit.
Yeah.
So sure enough, I'm taking accounting classes in high school. I'm taking accounting classes going into college, and then I realize, man, if I had to wear a suit every day, I think I'd hate going to work. Like
Yeah.
getting up, it's hot in the summer, taking the train. At that time, I was going to school in Boston, getting around and just feeling stiff. So it became clear to me that, man, if I could just wear, whatever types of gear that I want and get the job done, I think that'd be better. So it led me to software engineering. So really cool that you do that exercise with people who actually don't know at that point in time, maybe where they want to go, what they want to do, because that can give so much clarity.
I love it too because it opens up the floodgates of like, okay, what else do I come out the gate saying I don't know and I actually know more of?
That's
You know what I'm saying? Like if I didn't think I knew my career, but I actually know all about this about a potential career,
yeah.
what else in life, right? Like, am I saying just because I'm not doing the work, the inner work, I'm just blurting out, oh, I don't know, or I don't care, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When like deep down it really does.
Very true. Now, one thing I'm curious about, we're talking about your past, and this is something that's more a little present, but how do you feel about these diagnoses that people get? Like, say someone gets a diagnosis that they do have anxiety, that they do have depression,
Sure.
that they do have any types of thing going on. Do you feel like that sometimes can label people and then they can use that as a crutch and that they can lean into that and not do more? Or do you feel like
100%.
yeah?
100%.
Yeah, and do you feel like there's any reasons why? Like, do you think that they just associate themselves with those terms, and that's some of the reason why they then say, "Well, I have anxiety, so I can't go to this place. I can't do this. I can't speak on stage. I can't have that type of job."
Yeah, so it's not like a blanket statement. It's very person by person, right? Um, I believe that diagnosis are important. They are necessary. However, how the person receives it and how the person continues to move on with life, it's still up to them. Unless they have a conversation with somebody telling them like, "Hey, like your life is still in your hands," then they give it up to a diagnosis.
That's fair.
So if you feel like the the way of the world is just beyond you, you have no say so in your life, you have no control of your life, then yes, you will succumb to whatever your diagnosis is.
That's fair. One thing I'm curious about, people get that diagnosis. I know that sometimes they get prescribed medicine.
Yep.
What do you think is more effective? The medicine that someone gets prescribed at whatever dosage that
Yep.
the doctor sees fit, or sitting down and talking to someone?
It depends what the diagnosis is. So for certain individuals with diagnoses such as like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, um, schizoaffective, things of that nature, medication, well, you need medication, right? Like that's just you need medication.
Okay.
Now, individuals dealing with anxiety and depression, I am on record and I will continue to say, like, you really have to like get into the nitty gritty with a therapist that you rock with before making a decision on taking medication. So I'm not against medication. I'm against medication as like the first thing that you just shoot at the hip. That's what I'm against.
That's fair.
But if you really did the work and you really tried everything and nothing seemed to work, then like do what you need to do.
So I know we were jumping into the past a bit, and I still want to stay there. Before you became a licensed psychotherapist, what was Ray Lambert engaging in? What were you doing as a job? What was typical for you?
How far back you want to go?
Let's go 10 years.
Okay, so 10 years, I'm 34. So when I was 24, when I was 24 years old, I was promoting in nightlife, and then I was working at Bradley Hospital as a residential counselor.
Nice.
So that was the tandem there. Yep.
Did you enjoy the club promoting?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I did. Um, I enjoyed like the marketing and the business aspect more than the partying. If you ask anyone like that's ever seen me out or an event, I was never the guy that was like popping mad bottles or like pouring liquor down women's throats. Like
That's what the club promoter does. I'm not joking.
that, that was never me. I was always the guy that just liked the marketing aspect, and I always saw like you know, I was there to make money. I was there for people to have a good time for sure, but I was there to make money, right? And so I wasn't there to showcase how cool I am. I wasn't there to showcase like how, how much money I had or anything like that. Like in a lot of my events, I was actually at the bar in the corner chilling. Like I was very against being on Front Street. I always thought that putting other people on Front Street would make them come to my events more. So if I was always on Front Street, why would you come to my event just to see me like floss? Like
That's fair.
that didn't make sense to me. So like there was a lot of nights where like I could have just went crazy, but I had my little, Poland Spring water and a hookah and just chilled at the bar.
There you go. That's great self control and discipline. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I've learned more and more about you and that I saw from afar was that you do seem to be disciplined and someone who at least makes a conscious effort at staying consistent with being disciplined. It's not easy for anybody. And even for anyone listening to this episode right now, I think we all can have way more conscious efforts that go into just staying disciplined, sticking to a plan, showing up consistently, and just really living out what we want to see for ourselves. But one thing I'll say for you is that it sounds like even going back to then, that was something that was top of mind for you. So just thinking and talking about club promoting and just before you became a licensed psychotherapist, are there any things that you learned from that experience or that you took away that have helped you even into your formative years? And beyond that?
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Like so many,
Like what?
like a lot. Like I could probably have a whole another podcast, but like what the promotion game taught me. Um, the reason why I'm so fearless and the reason why I put myself out there is because of promotion, right? Because throwing an event is one of the most nerve-wracking things you can do. I'm not sure how many events you throw or whatever, but like if you throw an event, it's like it's more than just like, okay, did this person throw a good party or not? What you have to understand is there's individuals working the nightlife scene that like that's their job, right? And then whoever owns the club, like that was an investment they made, and now they're relying on you to bring in the people. And so it's more than just like, oh, I threw a good party, I threw a bad party. It's like other people are getting fed off of this as well.
Totally.
Right. And there's been many a nights where I've thrown a party and it's been me and the staff there. They're looking at me and I gotta eat that.
Yeah.
Right. And that builds so much character. It builds so much just because anxiety, for example, a lot of anxiety is just thinking of the worst case scenario and like having it at the forefront of your mind. And what if this happens? It's usually negative, right? What the club promoting scene did is like, hey, here's actually the worst thing that you envisioned, and it's right here, and it's right here, once every month,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you gotta look at yourself. It's like, okay, I survived, I learned. It didn't mean that it was always like that. Like you start like seeing like, okay, the worst thing happened, and I'm still kind of like good. And then you take that little sentiment with like other areas of your life. So it's like, oh, the worst possible thing can happen. Okay, but will I still be alive? Will I be okay? Okay, and I can still move on from that.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
And I think you might have some more top of mind. Do you want to keep going?
Oh, of course. Money, like managing money. That like I was making more money in nightlife than like my actual career up until 2023,
Oh, wow.
something like that.
Okay.
Around there, 2023, 2022, 2023. I want to say
So like
2023.
8 years in, like you're still making good amount of money that was not enough to supplant what you were doing.
Yeah, yeah. I was making more money in nightlife than I was in my career.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
sure. And so like it was managing that, right? Because like the first time I touched it was like the first time I touched like a decent amount of money was 2018.
Okay.
Blew it all,
Is
gone.
that right? Yeah.
And then it came in, it left, right? And that's how I got into real estate was because like the next time I get a taste of this again, I can't just like blow it. Like I gotta like put it somewhere. 'Cause I just felt rotten after. So like money management, um, keeping your word. A lot of nightlife, there's no like contracts. You know what I mean? Like especially like the clubs I was doing. You know what I mean? It's very like written through text. Hey, this is the deal, right? Like I would say a handshake, but half the time I'm not even shaking hands. I'm just sending text messages, right?
Yeah.
So with the DJ, hey, you'll be on from this time to this time, get paid this much.
Okay.
Like there's no contract.
Sure.
And so like for me, if you ask anyone in nightlife, like whatever I promised that the pay would be, like I paid them, whether I made money, whether I didn't make money, like, and that goes from the flyer guy to the videographer to the camera guy to the other promoters to the DJs, like everyone gets paid. You know what I'm saying?
That's a big operation.
Yeah,
More than what I think would just
it's bigger than what you would think.
100%. 100%.
And then I was doing it at a time where I want to kind of choose my words carefully, but like most of the times I did an event, there was one other person, maybe two.
That was also coordinating
Yeah.
and I. Okay.
But like that's it.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a lot of people nowadays, it's like
A team.
it's a lot of people. But like
Okay.
for me, I didn't see the money behind that. Like I wasn't cool with that. And I started off by myself. So maybe I had it advantage with that, where it's like I did an event, all the money that came in came to me. So now I'm very cautious about who I partner with and who I team with and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
One thing I'll tell you is it definitely seems like it's translated well into what you're doing now because, nowadays I see you get up on stage, I see you recording content, I see you just presenting yourself in a way that seems confident and just seems like you're working on the things that are most important to you. And it must have been those nights where maybe you had an event and it was just you and the staff and like you said, you have to eat that or you have to keep a straight face and the lessons that you learned from those experiences. So really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
I want to say the last thing too is probably just being able to interact with people from different walks of life.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like
definitely.
just on the weekly basis, I'm shaking hands with hundreds of people.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just being able to have that small talk, build rapport, remember things, right? Like, hey, I remember last week you said this about such and such. Like, how's that going? Like
Yeah.
that quick remembrance and people being like, oh wow, like he's actually listening to me. Like
Yeah.
just little things like that help me out a lot.
Even remembering names and faces and
Yeah.
all that. One thing I'll ask you, do you ever or have you ever done any exercises? I can't remember the name exactly of what it is, but someone introduces themselves to you. Most people forget that person's name in like 10 seconds.
Sure.
But instead you can do something where they say, "Hey, I'm Ray," and then you say, "Hey, Ray, nice to meet you." "Oh, Ray, how's your day been today?" "Yeah, Ray, it's cool that we're here at this event, the studio in Providence. We're having a great time." Do you do anything like that, or have you done anything like that to kind of give you an edge, or just help you with like your cognitive abilities, memorying,
Yeah.
things?
So I haven't, but I should.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one lane that I'm not the best in is just like remembering names and stuff
Oh,
like that. But it's like it's a psychological fact that the more times you actually say a person's name, the more that they end up like liking you or view you as someone in like a good favor.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So interesting. Cool. I'm happy we jumped to the past a bit. We are going to come back to the present for a second here, and I want to touch on something that's new for you and something that's one of the biggest blessings in life that I can think of, and that's becoming a father
sure.
and just seeing your life develop, and then also helping someone else begin their life and go on to do great things. So I want to ask you, it's been how long since you had your children?
2.5 months.
2.5 months. What's been the biggest lesson for you?
I think it was a level of unconditional love that you can't you can't know unless you're there. That's probably the biggest lesson. Like up until that point, it's like, okay, you know, you love your parents and if you have a girlfriend or wife, you love her too. But even that to an extent, and even your parents, like it's still conditional, right? Like if your parents were like total like assholes and like you might not love them as much as a best friend per se or something like that, right?
Sure.
But it's like these two girls, it would be like I can't even imagine a world where it's like I don't love them. You get what I'm
I
saying?
do. I do.
So it's a different level of just like unconditional love.
I'm sure. I'm sure. One thing that we touched on earlier, we said something about when you're engaging as a clinical director and you're helping young adults, young children, kids, we'll call them kids, that you're even helping them in some ways become a man. And one thing that for me, I've just thought more and more about is masculinity, just as a topic, just as a word. It feels like nowadays maybe masculinity can have almost a negative connotation. Do you feel similar?
No.
Okay.
I think people misuse it.
Okay.
So like here's your hot take, right?
Yeah.
Here's your clip. Um I don't believe in toxic masculinity. Like I don't think that phrase makes sense. I like
Why?
so here's why. Like a masculine person, right? So a man's man or a very masculine person is in control of their emotions. And so you just putting the word toxic in front of something, like you can't do like that. That doesn't make sense. If toxic masculinity exists, what's toxic femininity?
I'll leave that to everyone else's
But
interpretation.
that's my point, right?
Subject.
So like when people say toxic masculinity, they're actually talking about individuals that don't have proper emotional regulation, which I would say isn't truly a masculine person. So when you say toxic masculinity, you're actually talking about someone that can't control their emotions, who I would not identify as a masculine person.
Wow. That just completely rewired the way that I think about that phrase that has been thrown around a lot. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. And I hope the people listening, that's even something that
Yeah.
maybe can change
It's
the
like
lens.
basketball is toxic football. It's like no, it's just not football.
That's
You know what I mean? Like it's like a separate thing. Like a masculine person, think of like Barack Obama. Like to me, that's a masculine person,
I'd say
right?
so.
Like
I'd say so.
I could go down the link, but it's just like a toxic. When people say toxic masculinity, they're thinking about the person that puffs their chests out, might fight a lot, might yell a lot, stuff like that. But if you're like a real man's man, like you don't gotta do all that.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So we're still in the present, right? And we're gonna look a little bit to the future too. where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? What do you want your life to be? What do you want this story to be told 5 years from now?
So 5 years from now, believe it or not, 5 years from now will be very different for me. 5 years from now will be, hmm, where do you want to go with this? So in what lane? Because like in each lane, I have something to say about 5 years from now. What lane do you want to go?
I'm thinking more in terms of professional and career, but I
So
what
okay, so for a professional career, I'll have I'll either be my own company or I'll have a company where people hire me directly, companies and high level individuals to do one on one personal development slash therapy sessions. Um, yeah, and so companies will be hiring me directly. Individuals will be hiring me directly, which they already are. Um, I'll be booked at least twice a month for a speaking engagement. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else professionally. Hmm. I think that's about it professionally. Like that would be really good. Yeah.
cool. And then outside of just your professional endeavors, one thing we didn't get to touch on, but even thinking about investing, thinking about maybe even your family, is there anything that you can see for yourself that you are striving for in 5 years, say?
More real estate. Um, More investing.
Yeah.
I really like investing in people that I feel like are very passionate about what they do. Um, that's like actually been like really rewarding. Even like with the studio and any like seeing him like he's very like even keel. But I could tell like when he works in here, he's a little bit more like upbeat and like
Definitely.
you know what I mean? But like seeing that switch go off on people, there's two more brands that are local brands that I'm like, ooh, like I can tell that the owner of the brand is like all in. And so if I can kind of like just sprinkle some like financial stability into it and have them take off, like that would be something I'd love to pursue.
That's awesome, man. Sounds like you're kind of transgressing into this like venture capitalist investor role, which
I think it's fire. I think it's fire because like I fall victim to wanting to do a lot of things.
okay.
And what I've come to realize is the people who are all in that just need a little bit of capital, I think it would be better for me just to be like, hey, like I'm a part investor into this and I can, you know, guide people to use this, whatever this thing is, or if it's clothes, sell the clothes, whatever, whatever. But I'm not every day on it, right? And what that will allow me to do is to grow my business while still feeling like I'm part of these different entities, you know?
Definitely.
But for me, the most important thing is not the business, it's who is running the business. And so like even like right now, I'm also like investing into a local developer. And so like he's very passionate about developing and doing the fix and flips and stuff like that. And that's someone else who I categorize as a man of his word, trustworthy, all these things. So like, like these are still investments at the end of the day, right? Like I'm not just like, here's some money. Like
Hmm.
the people I give money to is because I fully expect them to give it back. And like so far, like there's been no investment where, it's been like, oh, I don't have it or whatever. Like everyone, like I've been able to read everyone well. And I don't know if that's just like my psychological background, but I
I
feel like I'm very able to like read people extremely well.
I think it definitely could be. I'll tell you that. I mean, one thing I was just gathering as you're saying this is that you are a people person.
Yeah.
Like whether if you like it or not, it just seems natural to you. You're inclined to just communicate with humans, understand who they are, where they're trying to go, how you can help. That's something that I feel like I've gathered from you too. You're doing that whether you were getting paid or not, even when you weren't getting paid as much, maybe, or early in your career, even as a promoter, you're still helping people. You want them to have a good time.
I created babies through my events.
See? See? Like
Straight up.
you've provided life to
Straight
some
up.
people. That's so funny. So that's awesome stuff. We're gonna close up here, but one thing I want to do is someone's listened to this entire episode. They're thinking Ray Lambert, cool guy. I want to maybe take some things that he does and I want to be more like him, or I want him to tell me something that I can take with me after this episode. What is some advice that you'd give to someone out there who either wants to become a psychotherapist or wants to become a business owner, entrepreneur, a content creator like yourself? What's some advice you'd give to them?
I want everyone out there to know that affirmations don't work, actions do. And so I can tell myself that I am the best, blah, 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 or I can work every day to become the best, blah, blah, blah. Which one of those will reap the best rewards? And so, like, this whole like affirmation culture, this is another like therapy term that therapists that I'm just not rocking with. Like, I'd rather you spend that time working on the thing that you say that you're good at or that you say that you're going to be good at than just like saying words. We're living in a culture where, you know, podcast content is just like ruling the world. And if it's not already, it's going to get extremely fuzzy about who actually is doing what they are saying that they're doing. And so, to weed yourself out of the crowd, the only thing you have to do is actually do the thing. Because there's going to be 90% of the people that are just talking about the thing.
We would drop the mic if we could, but we're not going to yet. That was
I will say I'm a little upset, man. About what? I thought you had some juicier questions. You came in here, you were like, "Oh, is there anything off limits?" I'm like, "No," and you asked me like 3 times, so I thought you had something in the cut that was like,
I can let a lot rip, but I won't. I mean, let's let it rip then. Okay. This is something that I think most men and people who are in relationships, long-term relationships, you take next stages, next steps together.
"Sure,
Um, it's not easy for everyone, right?
nope,
So even as you go from being someone who's dating to then married to having kids, we talked about the good things and some of the lessons that you've learned, but like, what's been the hardest parts of just progressing in the aspect of relationships, right? Because even for myself, I'd say over this past year, I feel like I've actually become a man. And what that means to me could be different to you. So, what are some of the things that, even for yourself, as a licensed psychotherapist, as a father, as a husband, that maybe you haven't had the easiest times with that you can maybe share with someone who can relate?
yeah." So you have to learn that you're gonna have to learn how to relove the same person. And that's a concept that not a lot of people get, right? And so me now versus me 3 years ago versus me 3 years before that are three different people. And my wife had to learn how to love those three different people. Now, because I'm Ray, I get that leadway because it's like, okay, I already know most of this guy, right? But at the same time, especially if you're evolving, like you're a different person, right? Like we just talked about me and nightlife, right? I had more speaking engagements than nights at the club this year.
That's amazing.
Like think about that. Like so my whole everything just switched. So with that comes certain things like you said about discipline. I very much lack discipline early in the relationship and just with everything pretty much, right? And so like every 3 years, every 5 years, you're gonna have to learn to re-love this newer version of this person that you fell in love with. And so that's probably the toughest part. Cause some things are like really good, some things are not so good.
Totally.
And then you gotta reconfigure like, okay, like this not so good thing that's appearing now in this new version, like, can I hold that down?
Yeah.
Right? Like, am I cool with that? Yeah. Um, yeah.
So, on the topic of juicy questions, hey guys, if you stuck around to this part of the episode, I appreciate you for staying. You must have knew something that we didn't when we first started, but let's get this next one off. You mentioned that when you first touched what was maybe a decent amount of money, or you just started making a lot more money, you blew it all.
Yep.
What'd you blow it on?
Oh, easy. Clothes, food trips. Clothes, food trips.
Those food and trips.
Yeah, clothes,
Okay,
food and trips. Yep.
it's not as bad as I would think, but
Yeah, I was never I mean, yeah, that was it.
okay,
That was it.
okay, all right. Another topic, juicy questions. You have a podcast. You have had some individuals who've been in some sticky situations.
Sure.
I think that one of the best things about living in this country is free speech. But one of the things I'm curious about is how do you manage having people on your platform that maybe a lot of people don't agree with, that a lot of people have a preconceived notion about, that a lot of people don't even know. What is the draw for you, and why do you allow that to happen on on your platform?
I think you should know whether you like a person or not, their ideology behind things, right? So like, I'm not saying I'm pro Trump or against Trump, but like, let's say if I don't like Trump, would I rather him be completely silent or would I rather him talk so I can hear about what he's thinking about?
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. And so like one of my favorite is so funny. One of my favorite people, um, like I don't necessarily agree with everything she says, which is Candace Owens, right? But I'll listen to like all her stuff. And I disagree with a solid half of it, but but I don't have to necessarily agree with everything for me to be like, oh, like I at least see like somewhere like where she's coming from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I also don't want to be like one sided. Like I think if you want to be one sided, then that would be your platform. For me, it does mean nothing to just be one sided.
That's fair.
And then just like with pretty much everything, I'm a huge advocate for people changing. So like I would be a lie to myself if I didn't let people who I felt like could change in the future onto like my platform.
I love it. I agree. I think everyone deserves a chance. We all make mistakes, if you'll call it that, but we all deserve.
There was one podcast. There was one podcast I never aired
Yeah, why's that?
because it was a little too crazy. Matter of fact, if any gets this right, all right. So if people stay this long,
Yeah,
right?
if you stay this long,
If
you're
you
in
say
good.
this long, if any is able to say who I think who I'm thinking about right now, um, I'll give the first person to comment $100 on this, $100.
Let's go.
So it's on you, Annie.
All right, so Any is the guy who
So
has
there was
two
one
viewers.
podcast that we had to scrape because I was like, "Yo, we cannot put."
$100 are on the line for someone walking right now.
And he said something wild, and he didn't even think it was wild, and we was just like, "Oh nah." Correct. All right, so whoever puts $100 as a comment in this, well, I'll send him $100.
Let's go. You heard it here. $100 coming your way.
Yeah,
Comment $100
$100. Yep.
and the
And
first one.
first one,
First
got
one.
him.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. We're gonna do more of these. I don't know who's gonna be paying the $100, but we'll see.
yeah.
Man, that's so funny. We gotta get back to that. But what I'll say is thank you, Ray. Thanks for jumping on. This was a great time. I hope this isn't the last time we do this. I'd
Yeah,
love to have you back on. And
sure.
we didn't even get to this, man. We are talking about the future. One of the things that we haven't talked about yet is, like you mentioned earlier, you're here to help, right? So who exactly are you here to help and how can they reach out to you?
Right. So I'm here to help companies and, individuals dealing with anxiety and burnout, right? I'm here to help people that want to increase their productivity and also increase their stress management. So a lot of people avoid stress, right? And a lot of people want to decrease stress, but that's the wrong way to look at it. In every single aspect of life, there will be stress. There's stress in doing too much, there's stress in doing too little. There's stress in making a lot of money, there's stress in not making any money, right? So stress isn't necessarily the evil thing, right? It's how you manage it is the evil thing. And so what I'm able to do with my skill set is actually impute stress management into all my clients. So when the stress does come, they're able to maneuver in a way where they can be in stressful situations and actually become more productive.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm thinking like pressure diamonds are formed under pressure. It sounds like that's kind of similar to your philosophy, like where you shouldn't shy away from the stress, you shouldn't shy away from the pressure.
It's gonna be there regardless.
That's fair.
Give me 1 year of your life that like you didn't have any stress. Like maybe as a child, like maybe, but other than that, you always had stress.
Very true.
You
Very,
know?
very true.
And stress usually only comes about when you're trying to progress.
Interesting. You think so, like the person who's just sitting around, not doing too much, maybe not that motivated, maybe not super stressed out because there's not that much responsibility. Why is that?
Yes and no. So like yes, because there's not like a super like persistent stressor, but I would argue that there's still a stress of like them knowing like, wow, I've been in the same spot, or I'm not making the money I should be making, or I'm not, you know, doing the thing that I want to do in life. Like a lot of us are fortunate in this room at least that like we get to wake up and do something that we actually like to do. Yeah. But that's not the story for a lot of individuals. Yeah, that's true.
True. One thing I'm curious about, seems like working out and just staying active and staying disciplined because I think almost the people who go to the gym consistently, it's not even so much that they want their bodies to look good, but it seems like there's something else about showing up and being disciplined and doing the things that you do inside the gym that are fulfilling for them. So, what about working out kind of draws you and also as a part of that, what gives you fulfillment in
Yeah.
life?
Yeah. So on the grand scheme of things, I probably never even said this anywhere. But on the grand scheme of things, I feel like this drive and this motivation and this discipline that you see now, when I was like, I don't know, up like I don't think it existed for real until like 23 years old.
Okay.
So in my head, I'm like, I need to earn back 23 years of my life. And so because I can't go backwards, I can only go forwards. And so if I can't go backwards, that means that I want to put on an extra 20 years of my life being healthy, right? And so I heard this thing, and I'm sure you've heard something along the lines of it, where it's like, if I give you a billion, let's say I give you $10 billion, right? But like automatically you have a heart attack and you're in the hospital tomorrow, would you take the 10 billion? And the answer is probably no, right? And so that shows you that health, it's not wealth, it's more than wealth,
Very
right?
true.
It's not
Very
it's actually more than wealth.
more than well.
So it's like I make sure I start my day with the most important thing, which is the health side of things.
I love that. I love that. Let me ask you this. What gives you fulfillment in life? What gives you happiness, brings you joy? What do you look forward to? Like, what is going to be exciting for you tomorrow or this week or this month, this year, right? It's October by the end of the year. What excites Ray Lambert?
That's a good question. I'm glad we're at like this weird time period of the pod so I can like get my stuff off and only like a certain percentage of people will hear it. But like I don't care too much about being happy.
Okay.
Happiness isn't really like I don't know, man.
Really?
Happiness isn't like a thing for me. Like I think if you wanted to be happy, right? Let's say if you wanted to be happy, what's a happy day for you look like?
Happy day is when I have a routine. Like, I feel good at the end of the day about everything I did during the day. And the people around me are taken care of. I feel safe. They feel safe. Things are stable. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling energized. I'm well fed, if you'll call it that. I'm nourished enough to just sustain and go to sleep, get a good night's sleep, and then have the next day that I'm already looking forward to doing something.
What are you doing though? Like your happy day? Like what do you?
Happy day, ideally, something physical, some sort of activity to get my heart rate up, something to give me that serotonin, that dopamine. Also, something that is maybe tangible in terms of completing a task. So, something like work oriented, um, working on my craft, just exploring, chasing my curiosities. So, those types of things bring me happiness.
Okay, so I feel like I could interchange productive and switch it for happiness.
That's fair to say. Yeah. All of that would mean that I was productive in that day, and I was happy.
So what's the difference
Between productivity and happiness,
being productive and being happy?
maybe that's exactly what it is for you, being productive.
Well, no, no, no. We're talking about
Like,
you.
for me, what's the difference there is that the day that I'm happy doesn't have to mean that I do all of those things. Like, I do some sort of work task. I do that workout. It could come in a different form that I'm happy where I'm surrounded by family and I'm happy because I'm in their presence, or I'm happy because something good has happened in my life. So it's not about being productive for me personally, but just that I'm happy because of the result of most things.
I have a question. If you were surrounded by family, right, but um, you were going to get kicked out of your house the next day, would you be happy around family? So
In that setting, I would be happy. In the grand scheme, no.
Okay. I'm just throwing stuff out there
Yeah.
because I just think being happy is just such a here we go in the manosphere, right? But I just think
Well, let's hear
I,
it.
I want to like jump on a ledge, but I just don't think it's for us. I don't.
Hmm,
I think our bearing should not be placed on happiness. I
interesting.
think happiness is. I think happiness for a man is more about what he can provide for others. I know that sounds like weird, but it's like if you all right, let's put it this way. I got it. If I can shovel out like a lot of different things for a lot of different people, that means I have obtained it to be able to shovel it out.
Yeah. Yeah. You have the wisdom, you have the knowledge. You can give it
I
because
can
you
get
have,
yeah, yeah.
or you know what.
Um yeah, and I just think
So do you think most people are like chasing what this idea of happiness is, but in reality, maybe some of those people could just be chasing productivity? Is that what you're getting at?
I think they should chase productivity.
Okay. Okay.
I think that happiness for a lot of people is eating a bunch of food, being on a beach,
Yeah.
stuff like that's happiness, right?
Yeah.
But if 99% of your life is not that, does that just mean you're not going to be happy for most of your life?
I get it. I get it.
Doesn't make
No,
sense.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
But every day of your life you can be productive.
Mm-hmm.
So I would value productivity more than happiness.
This is something that I want to talk to you about when we got into this podcast setting, because we talk often, but we don't talk about something like this. We're talking about masculinity, we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about at least some of these stereotypes and things that exist. One thing that I'm curious about for the marginalized community, for the community that maybe mental health isn't so much talked about, do you think there's a reason why? And do you think there's things that we can be doing better as a whole to have that conversation, to have this help be spread to people who we definitely know need it?
I think a big part of it is two things. The names, so mental health and therapy, right? If if you identified therapy as a a personal development coach or something like that, right? I feel like people will be more susceptible to it, as well as it being established earlier on. Why would you have a basketball coach and not a coach for your life? Right? The second part of it, I think a little bit is ego. It's I know it all. It's how is someone gonna tell me something they don't know me? Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. What I like to say is I don't a lot of things that I point out and things like that have nothing to do with my degrees. It's just the fact that I'm a person sitting on the outskirts and I'm able to look at your situation and be totally outside of it. And because you're so nestled into it, you can't really see what's going on.
Mm, interesting.
Right.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And I just feel like there's three things that need to happen. It needs to be renamed as just that's why I say personal development, because I feel like people are into that, right? So that's one. It needs to be renamed. It needs to be introduced earlier. It's already happening, but more popular people need to make it cool. There's nothing in this world that happens that like the consensus of popular people aren't like, yes, we're standing behind this, right? Like, would any of the designer brands be anything if no popular person, no musician, no whatever
No.
ever wore it,
No. Yeah.
right?
No.
Like
Same with the beverages that we drink, the
anything.
clothes we buy, the everything, the cars we drive, all of it. Yeah.
Right. So
We
like,
do.
and I get it. Like, I feel like it's definitely increasing with that,
Totally.
but because it's increasing, that's why I feel like more people are into it.
100%.
So I would say like there should be something where it's like a gang of just like really popular people, like
All,
make it cool.
all in. I love that. I love that. I think you had some hoodies in the past, if I remember correctly, and it said your mental health.
I had shirts, t-shirts.
Sure,
Yeah,
shirts, and
yeah.
it said your mental health matters, right? I had saw that before I knew you, and I was like, those shirts are awesome. Just because my fiance is, she works in psychology and my fiance works in the mental health space,
Sure.
and just I've been privy to the need for mental health just for most people, just because I was aware of how.
Another thing that irks, I don't mean to cut you off, but this boils my soul.
Let's hear it.
When people say like, "Oh, like he has mental health or she has mental health," like what the hell are you from saying?
Mental health issues, or
But that's the thing. Like they leave it like an open ended thing. It's like everyone has mental health.
that's funny. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. That oh, like they just throw it out there, but no one
Yeah,
touch it.
yeah. It's just like it's so dumb to me. It's
True.
It's,
No, it's like there's a stigma around it. That's the thing. That's unfortunate, right?
yeah.
That's what I've realized, and I think one thing that I can help do is just spread awareness, right? Collaborate with people like yourself who are doing the good deed daily, but just try to give the gift of knowing how you can help yourself in a lot of ways to others. So, people listening, take care of yourselves. It's important. It's important. It's more sometimes more important than the financial health or the emotional health. It all comes into play in tandem, but still,
Nothing happens without your mindset.
100.
So like you don't talk, you don't dress, you don't eat without your brain telling you to do so.
That's true, right? Damn, that's crazy to think about. I mean,
Legitimately everything.
it's wild though because we live our lives, and I think it's unfortunate, but a lot of people live their lives on autopilot, but then they don't think about how they can, in some ways, maybe captain the ship or at least help the ship steer in the right direction. So it's ironic, but
I think a lot of times people are never told that.
that's true. So they don't even know
They
that.
don't even know that they
Don't know.
can do that. Yeah.
It's very true, man. Hey, if you've made it to this part of the episode, it's time to take control of the ship.
Yeah.
You've heard it here. It's possible for you to take control of where you want to go, what you want to see happen. Reach out to people who can help you if you don't know what to do. Ray, how can people get in touch with you?
My website, lambertelevation.com. I'll probably leave a link in the video.
Yeah.
Also Instagram at Ray Lambert, Rayy Lambert. You can follow me there.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care, man.
Appreciate it. See you, guys.